Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Ditch Witch Diaries. This time we're on to a new adventure, and we are just doing the herbs that we like. And so we've compiled a master list of herbs, and we can just pick from it. Of course, I need to start with A and go through the list. Hilariously
You
enough,
really did.
I did. I picked the first one. I did. I couldn't help
You're like,
myself.
what am I gonna do?
I know.
Oh, first one. Okay, done.
Exactly. Oh, let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah.
A very good place to start.
Mhm.
So, we're not going to start with me, though. We're actually going to start with Raven. So, take it away and start us off with our first herb.
So we are doing mullein.
Woo! I love mullein.
I do too. It's so nice and like soft.
Woo!
Okay, so here's our botanical. So botanical name is Verbascum thapsus. That's one type. We're going to talk about some different types, but that's the most common one, called common mullein, also known as great mullein, is the thapsus. So the parts used are the leaves, the flowers, and the root. There is a ton of folk names. I got tired of listing them, so I just stopped. But torches, mullein dock, Our Lady's flannel, velvet dock, blanket herb, velvet plant, willen, rag paper, candlewick plant, wild ice leaf, clown's lungwort, also just lungwort, Jupiter staff, hag's taper, graveyard dust, all kinds.
Nice.
I also found, I didn't put it on here because I wasn't sure, maybe you know, a lot of people, let's see. So from what I found, it's also called golden rod, two words, which is different from goldenrod, one word. Have you heard mullein called goldenrod?
I have not heard it called that, but it wouldn't surprise me because of the way the flowers grow.
Yeah,
Like they're like
it was,
big, like, yeah, the way
yeah,
that they grow
it
is
was,
a golden rod. So,
yeah. It's just weird that there's like a plant called golden rod and a plant called goldenrod because the one word is not the same, but
no, it
anyway,
is not the same at all.
yes. So there are a lot of different types of mullein. Again, let me figure out where to put our little video screen. There we go. So, as I said before, the most commonly used one is the common mullein, also known as great mullein or greater mullein. It's the same, but these are some other ones. So we have dark mullein, which is, so this is great mullein, common mullein,
Yeah.
flowers. This is our dark mullein. This is purple mullein. And then this is moth mullein, which I love
It's
actually.
beautiful.
It's
Those
so
are
pretty.
beautiful.
I've never seen them in like real life, but the flowers look amazing. And the dark mullein and the moth mullein have purple hairs on the leaf as opposed to the traditional, like, it's not white, but like cream colored hairs.
Nice.
They're so pretty. Ugh, I love them.
I love them
Okay.
too. They're lovely.
They're so beautiful. Now, um, I, as you will know, have a problem sometimes differentiating mullein from lamb's ear. And they're pretty similar. If you're just looking at the leaves before the stalk comes up, they look very similar. So this is mullein, this is lamb's ear. Um, if I can tell them apart, the way that I do it is have to look up really close to the leaves, and the lamb's ear leaves, the hair on them actually look like fur more so than mullein, which just looks kind of like soft and like fuzzy. If the leaves are too
I'm grabbing
small,
water.
okay, if the leaves are too small and
Uh-huh.
there's no flowers, I can't tell the difference. I absolutely cannot tell the difference. If flowers have sprung up, it's easy to tell because lamb ear has purple flowers and then mullein has the yellow flowers typically. And the flowers themselves look a little different, but yeah, hard to tell apart for me.
Lovely.
Yes. Okay. So this is a like sprouted mullein plant. So mullein will look like this until it kind of sprouts the flowers and then it just grows up and then we have like our stalk and stuff. Something interesting about the leaves is that the leaves closer to the top of the stalk are the smallest, and then they get larger as you go down. And this is supposed to help it with maximum water absorption. So when it rains, the water falls on the smaller leaves and then it drips down to the larger leaves, drips, 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 drips. And then the largest leaves will funnel it into the stalk and like the base and the roots and stuff, which is interesting because not all plants do that. Belladonna is kind of similar too, where there's like definitely largest leaves on like towards the bottom and then smaller ones at the top.
Nice.
Okay, so historically, mullein stalks have been used as torches. This is a very, very common use for mullein, has been, still is. Started with the Romans. It's believed there's been discussions on whether indigenous people use them for torches as well. We don't know for sure, but it's been theorized. We do know that Romans used it as a torch, and they would often dip the flower stalk. So you can see this is like the unaltered flower stalk. They would dip it in like tallow or something to help it like stay lit. Essentially, you don't have to dip it in anything, but oftentimes they did. And then they use those torches to line their billets, which are basically like their homes and like the houses where soldiers stayed. And basically, like they would light these and then line them along walkways to show like where the entrance was. It's also, that's why it's called like torch and torchweed. And then also this part of the plant is still used in parts of Europe to make candle wicks because they burn really quickly and they're considered natural, like cottonwood, if the cotton wick was natural.
Nice.
Huh?
I said nice.
Yeah, pretty cool. And then it's also said that witches would use them as torches as well, which is why it's also sometimes called hag's taper. You can actually still buy these. This is a picture from like, I think it's Etsy or something where somebody dipped them in candle wax, which is pretty cool. I don't know. Have you smelled, let's see, how do I want to phrase this? We have burned the leaves in like loose incense before. Have you burned the stalks? And do you know if it smells the same as the leaves?
It does. It's
Okay.
got a distinct smell. In fact, I have some that I need to dip in wax, but they definitely, I've had hag's tapers before and used them before.
Nice.
They burn well. They burn nicely.
Yeah. And for a while, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Especially if dipped, I would imagine.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool. So according to Greek legend, the gods gave Ulysses a mullein stalk to defend himself against Circe, who was an enchantress. I feel very confident that we've at least mentioned Circe a few times.
A few times. Only a handful.
Only a handful, yeah. And we haven't gotten into them much, but Rebecca is very familiar with Circe. But she's an enchantress, a beautiful, lovely goddess who turned Ulysses' men into swine. So here we have our picture of her with the swine. And so the gods gave, I didn't say this, but the gods gave him like a torch basically to defend himself, like a sword, like a fiery sword almost. So our Greek physician Dioscorides, or we always have trouble with that one, but he prescribed it for for lung conditions a long time ago. So this is one of the most common like non-magical, well, maybe magical, but non-magical uses of mullein is to help with the lungs. That's also why it's called lungwort, because it's super, super good for the lungs. So Dioscorides prescribed it for lung conditions. People who are trying to wean themselves from tobacco often smoke mullein, and sometimes spearmint, coltsfoot, and other herbs are like added in. You can still buy, my local herb shop has like, I don't remember what they're called, but they're like mullein cigarettes. Like they're pre-rolled just mullein.
Oh.
And you can like smoke them. It's super nice. They also have like a bunch of them.
So Interesting.
Yeah.
So it was funny, but during like COVID, and I don't know, I'm not saying anything about COVID or anything about it, but
Yeah.
what I do know is that you could not find Mullein to order anywhere.
Oh, I remember that. We've talked about that. That's
Yeah.
right. I forgot.
Hmm.
Wow. Yeah. Which makes sense, right? It totally makes sense since COVID's respiratory illness.
Uh-huh.
So super, super good for the lungs. And we'll kind of talk about this a little bit more as we get into the medicinal properties. But throughout history, it seems like it's been used for like lung conditions and stuff. And you don't have to smoke it. You can drink it in like an infusion too and get the
Yeah,
benefits as
of
well. Just
course.
to like clarify for people who are like, I don't want to smoke it. Like you can make a tea with it, an infusion with it if you want to. And I don't mind the taste. It's a little I do sometimes notice some like of the like little hairs get through in my infusion, but I don't mind them.
And you can also get like you can either it will dry and use your own like vegetable capsules or buy
Oh yeah.
like ingest it, like physically
Yeah.
take it in, like as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah, definitely. So it used to be used to preserve figs, which is something I did not know about it. And is still used to preserve figs. I can't remember if it was Pliny or one of our good old like herbologists. Um, they said that if you wrap a fig in a mullein leaf, the fig like does not go bad, which I don't know about that, but it's supposed to like really help preserve them for a really long time. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but and specifically figs and not other fruit is also interesting.
that's
But
very interesting.
hey, used as tender to start fires, emergency bandages because it's like soft, so it's not going to irritate the skin a lot. We'll also talk about more skin stuff later. And also we talked about like how quickly it lights. So it makes sense that it was used in tinder or as tinder. Indigenous people used to smoke the leaf to revive the unconscious, which basically is like smelling salts, right? So if somebody gets knocked out or if they're like sick or something and they're like unconscious, you can blow some, like light the leaf on fire and then blow some of that smoke, and it's supposed to help bring them back. Poultice of fresh pounded leaves was helped skin stuff. So bruises, swelling, sprains, you would just pound the leaf, like macerate it, and apply that to the skin. And then also crushed seed capsules were used to stun fish. I don't really know why, but hey,
Interesting.
yeah, helps for fishing, I guess. Also, I love this picture of
Me too. That's lovely.
so nice. Obviously, we're not physicians, blah, 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 but here's our
We'd be
medicinal.
sadly mistaken. Yes.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
even imagine.
Nope, nope, no.
No.
So, demulcent, expectorant, diuretic, emollient, astringent, also lightly sedative properties, and lightly narcotic properties, which is because of the sedative, so that makes sense. So both the leaf and the flower have expectorant properties. This is, again, because it's tied to the lungs and it works in the lungs so well. So an expectorant like produces, if you're not familiar, expectorant like produces the cough, right? It helps like clear out the mucus and stuff. So mullein is very good for that. I should have said earlier too, I guess, even if we talked about if you want to quit smoking tobacco, that you can smoke mullein, which is totally true. But even if you are still smoking and you just want to try to clear out those lungs, like mullein is a good addition. It's not just specifically to stop, but if you do a lot of stuff that might like gunk up your lungs, mullein is a really great tool to have.
Nice.
Um, let's see. Oh, flower and seed oil is used to reduce inflammation from eczema, so really good. And then specifically, the seed oil reduces chilblains, which I had never heard of, but
Oh,
is
yeah.
basically, how do you say it?
Chilblains.
Chilblains, which is like itching and swelling of the skin because of like poor circulation. So basically good for skin stuff. The whole plant is diuretic, but especially the root. We don't often talk about the mullein root being used, at least not in my experience, but it definitely is, just not as much as the flower stalks and the leaves and stuff. It's supposed to be very, very good to help fight diarrhea because it has both astringent and emulsant properties. And I guess both of those two properties together are really, really good to help stop diarrhea. A conserve of the flowers has been used for ringworm. I searched and searched and searched. What is a conserve? Because every time I would type up like plant conserve or conserve of flowers, it would tell me how to like conserve them.
Exactly.
So I'm like, I don't know what that is. I looked it up, but I have no idea.
No idea either.
Yeah, so weird. Anyways, good for ringworm. Distillation is good for burns. Again, pretty much anything with the skin is gonna be, mullein's gonna help. And then if you use a tincture, specifically, the rain is coming down like totally diagonal right now. It's so interesting. A tincture specifically with an alcohol base is supposed to be good for headaches. For some reason, I found a couple places that said this, and they said it has to be alcohol because if you're not familiar, you can also use like vinegar, like apple cider vinegar and stuff for tinctures.
Glycerin too, like a glyceride.
Yeah, glycerin and stuff, but it said that it needed to be alcohol. So maybe something with the alcohol properties mixed with the mullein properties, good for headaches. I'm not sure about that. And then decoction of the root is good for toothaches. So a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
We love her.
Yes, we do. So beautiful.
So pretty. Okay, so magically, it's pretty undisputed that the sign it's associated with is Capricorn. Because the element. I have seen places say earth element and water element, which I think that it is very much a fire element. It burns things away, literally and magically and figuratively. So I think it's fire, but to each their own. And do you know a lot of places said fire. There were a couple that said earth and water. And the first place I saw that said earth and water was what is the tarot and stuff class that the cunning
Alexis Cunning Folk, yes.
Yeah, she said earth and water, which I thought was interesting. But to each their own, you know. In our view of magical usage, nothing is wrong. It's whatever you resonate with. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, whatever. But I very much think it's fire. What about you?
Yeah, like I don't see water. Water is a hard one for me.
Yeah.
I would definitely say fire for sure. Yeah. Like I like fire. Perhaps we can go into the earthy realm, but I think fire is pretty right on. So
yeah.
Even
agreed.
Like yeah.
Agreed. I could see like an argument for earth because it's so like supportive, I guess, but I don't know. I just like fire. So the tarot card is the devil, which I love, the world, and 2 of pentacles.
Oh, balance.
Yeah, I can see it. I know, I'm just imagining like
I know, exactly. Lemisculate. Is that what lemiscut? Lemiscut? Yeah. Is that what it is? The figure 8. Exactly.
Yeah. And then the planet is Saturn, as seen, like, which makes sense because the sign is like Capricorn. For magical uses, it's pretty much anything in the realm of protection, fire, burning away, and illumination, which is tied to fire as well. So in some folk practices, mullein can be used as a substitute for grave soil or graveyard dirt, which I think we've talked about this before. I am not into, again, to each their own, you know, no judgy, but I think that there are some things that just can't be substituted. I don't think that like blood root or like any plant can substitute blood. I don't really think any plant can substitute graveyard dirt, but to each their own. Some people say that they can use mullein for that.
And you know what? It's like grave dust, and it's like when you buy it, like when you buy grave dust at like
Or like goofer dust, is that the same?
I don't know, but when
I
you
don't
buy like grave dust at
know.
like from like like a store or something,
Mm.
it's often Mullein, and they're not like going. It's not. You're not going to get dirt. You're
Yeah.
going to get like something else. It's this. It's
Interesting.
often Mullein. So
Yeah. Hey, to each their own. I'm
yes,
not into it, but whatever. Uh,
so
let's
funny.
see. Okay, so I found this from a blog, so I'm not sure how accurate it is, but from the Blood and Spice Bush blog, it says Mullein was a key ingredient in folk magic as well as Appalachian magic. And it said that if you bent a stick of mullein towards the house of the one that you were romantically interested in, you bend the stalk towards their house, you come back a couple days later and you check it. If it has grown, so you bend it, if it's grown up straight again, that means that they feel the same way. If it was still bent, they do not feel the same way.
Mm.
Um, what else? Oh, and then in the Ozarks,
Uh-huh.
so it's similar, but it says if the mullein bends towards the person's house, the one who tends the mullein loves them. So, like, if you are across the street from me and I'm growing mullein and I tend to my mullein in my garden and my mullein starts bending towards your house, then that means that I love you.
Oh.
So again, with magical, pretty much anything for protection or fire, which I heavily associate fire with protection. Um, anytime you need protection, even from like nightmares or night terrors, it's supposed to be good for that. Um, it's good if you like keep a mullein leaf in your clothes. It's supposed to help protect you against like evil forces and the evil eye. Very, very protective, which again is why I associate it with fire so much too. And then it said that if you burn mullein in a midsummer fire and then you collect the ash is supposed to be very powerful in your magical workings,
I
which
love
I
that.
thought was interesting. Yeah. And that's it. That's mullein.
Yay. I love Mullein. Oh my gosh, that was
I
so
know.
rad. I love learning about Mullein, and I used to have a Mullein, but it lasted 2 years and then it died because that's what it does. It's biennial. So it
Interesting. Yeah.
like, yeah, and it like if you cut off the top like one of the flowers, a bunch will grow back in its place. Like you can keep cutting
Oh,
them, and I like extended it far beyond. Like it was so sad. Like by the end, I was just like, it gave me so many of those though. I love them. I just kept cutting them off and cutting them off, and then a
yeah.
bunch would grow. Like
That's
it's
so cool.
crazy how many, yeah, you can get. Totally awesome.
Very nice. We have a ton of wild mullein out here, like an absolute ton. I haven't seen it sprout yet, though. I haven't really seen any of the wild mullein patches around here like sprouting. When do they sprout their flower stalks? Is it like spring? Do you
Yeah, I
know?
think it's like even late spring. It's like it was like
Mm.
late into the yeah, spring, I think. It was
I saw them in summer, so I guess that makes sense, like midsummer.
yeah.
But yeah. Hmm. All right.
Anyway, well, thank you for joining us at Ditch Witch Diaries. Like and subscribe, and we will see you at the next Ditch Witch Diaries.